Okay, so we are back for episode 2 of Make a Tycoon Game. Going to review some of the changes made over the weekend. So if I open up Visual Studio Code here, and hopefully, actually what I do need to do is share the link. Visual Studio Code here. Sorry, you're going to get some feedback there. Okay, so if we go back to Visual Studio Code. So if we come back here, we've added some little bits to our definition. So what have we got? We've got a created app. We've got money, the total money we've earned, the last scene, a prestige level, and floors unlocked. And then we've also got these droppers unlocked, droppers which we've placed, and any claimed rewards. You can think of this as milestone achievements when we get to that. But essentially, this is going to be time, this is going to be a time. This will allow us to sort of do that kind of reward, when people have been back. We've added a definition for the droppers. So we've got a reference here that we're going to go through very shortly. Our floor number, our slot number, tier, and level. So this is just some information about our place droppers. And this is the information that we're storing here. So we've updated our define trait to account for these. We've updated our serialize, which allows us to initialize and remerge the data. And obviously our deserialize, sorry. What else have we done? That's pretty much it. We've added this function, which is add dropper, to our admin commands. And that would allow us just to debug some stuff here. So if I come across to the droppers.ts, at the top, very top here, I've got the just got a type for dropper type, and this just allows us to set some modifiers that we'll go over. These will probably get rename at some point. But essentially, you could have one dropper that's a bronze, one dropper that's a silver, and the silver one's going to do a bit better. You can see here, the bronze is 10% over default, silver's 25%, and the gold is 50% over the default default performance. So in our actual definition for droppers, we've got an ID and name. We've got a prop ID and a resource ID. We've got the sale price and the number of blocks it produces per second, and then the odds. And now the odds I wanted to express in a really clear way. And actually, if we look at some of the droppers here, that it'll sort of help you understand. So essentially what this is a 1 in 3 chance. So 1 out of 3 times it's going to be a stone dropper. This is 25, so 1 out of 25 time chance it's going to be an iron dropper. And we got the diamond dropper, which is 1 out of 1,000. So obviously this is much rarer. And we need to come up with a nice formula at some point for sort of how many blocks per second, what's the sell price of the resources, but we can worry about that later. We've got a simple mapping here that just allows us to connect these two together. You'll see how this all comes into play very shortly. We've got a odds to weight, So that just allows us to convert the scale into odds. The roll dropper ID, and get effective stats, because you can level up your droppers. So we're doing a very basic 5% bonus to both the sell price of the blocks and number of blocks per second for each level. And we'll probably, again, like I said, we'll need to do a big math lesson at some point and implement some proper sort of incremental math into it. And obviously incremental just means that the progress is generally linear. Open paint. So why is it like that? The progress, and where's the line tool? I haven't used this for ages. So the performance is normally like that, starts at the bottom here and goes up like this. But what happens with the cost? Well, the cost jumps up, so the cost becomes exponential, and the sort of resource gained from that. So you get less. What's the frame? What's the word? You get less returns the more you invest. That's just how incremental games work, and we'll come up with that formula later. I've created a really verbose function here. Verbose just means it talks back to us a lot. For deciding how we can randomly pick sort of spin for these droppers. So we'll see that in action. So if I come back into a new one and I type that new function, nothing happens. Because I'm not live. There we go, that's why. Okay, if we try it now, dropper. So we've done a spin. So essentially what this is doing is adding all the odds together from our three things that we've got defined. We pick a math.random, and we've got the three candidates here. We've got the dropper stone, the iron, and the dropper diamond. And obviously you can see from this, with the 1 and 3 odds, the dropper stone has 1. So if I come out of that and we go back to our code, and I say, actually, this isn't 1 in 1,000, it's 1 in 2. So it's now got better odds than the dropper stone. So if I now do add dropper, we should get a diamond. Oh, we got an iron. That's interesting. What did that say? Dropper iron, odds 1 out of 25. Odds 1 out of 2. That's very interesting. Let's try again. Dropper. There we go. So that was just a lucky thing that 1 out of 25, the iron won over the diamond, which was 1 out of 2. But that's the fun thing about odds. So how's this actually all going to work? Because today is mainly going to be a sort of working out how this is all going to look. I'm just going to grab some blocks here. We'll grab you. We need a diamond block and a stone block. We've got a floor. Probably want like a button block. So I think it's going to look something like these could be really simple. Let's do 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Something like that. And if you go to block tool, sculpt. And I want it Yeah, something like that looks cool. So we need to go from here up to here. And we're going to create a prop. So if I come to my inventory and I go to props, this is going to be the iron dropper. And then I want to reference this, so I'm going to copy this and just save that. And I'm going to update that one. And now, we've still got these blocks, or did that convert it? I don't think that did convert it. Oh, it did. So I can grab the blueprint. If I chuck you there. Pop you down. And then if I use the pencil tool, go back to the air select mode, should be able to replace blocks, steel blocks. What's this stone called? So we said the stone block was that one, light stone. Replace blocks. Light stone. Place specific blocks. There we go. Oh, I've missed some. Steel blocks with light stone. So now I can select all of that. Make sure I got it all. And create a prop from that. I can call this one stone dropper. Again, I want to save that. And update our prop ID in here. And then the last one we've got to do is a diamond. And we said we're going to use that one. That'll work for now. We can do better later. So again, I can put down this blueprint. Back to my pencil tool. Oh, and was it turquoise? Select it all. Place the blocks. Steel blocks. Yeah, that kind of looks like diamonds. That'll work. And again, great prop. So this is, I don't want to edit the blueprint. Prop. We got our diamond dropper. Okay, cool. So let's actually make this a bit bigger. Something like that. And then I can grab some props now. Spawner tool. I can hold Alt. So if I don't hold Alt, I've got this sort of free form, goes anywhere. I can rotate it. But if I hold Alt, it's snapping now to the grid. And it snaps in half blocks. So that's a full block, that's half a block. So that just allows us to position stuff really nicely. So I'm thinking, you know, would have something like this set up. So you'd have your droppers. We're going to have some sort of conveyor belt. underneath here. What's that doing there? That's weird. Okay, just a visual glitch. Yep. Pencil tool. Something like a conveyor belt over here. So these things will drop a block onto the conveyor belt towards the end and go. And then there's going to be multiple floors you can unlock. So, first thing we want to set up is, what do we want to do? So let's just clear these off a second. So we could implement this really easily for single player, but we want to save ourselves some work. So we need to think about this in a multiplayer setting. So let's just get rid of all of this a second. So what we're actually going to want to do is define plots. And we could do that with an area tool, I'm thinking. So, you know, we can have a plot there. And once we've worked out how far it needs to go, we can have a plot there. So we do need to create a trait to add to this. Let me just check, actually. Profile, place one. Did I not add? Go back to here. I think I need to update this, don't I? So yeah, it's known we placed that one dropper. And obviously, the other thing we're doing here is it's always putting it on floor one, slot one. But obviously, this is just debugging. So eventually that would sort of update. Yeah, that's why. So I think let's create a new let's create a new trait, which we will call plot trait.ts. So import and no, let's just grab it from the top here. Okay, and then I'm just going to copy this because this is the easiest way I find to making traits rather than trying to. We're only going to need two things on this. Does that work? Let's have a look. No, it doesn't like that. So default value plot trait. So we've got plot index 1 and label Expected 0 to 1, so it doesn't go there. Goes there. Doesn't go there. Define an area for player plots. Right, let's community. No, create. Learn docs. Let's copy default value. I need to find a label inside that. Index. Plot. Index. And then we want occupied. Occupied? No, what am I doing? Occupied. Schema dot boolean default value false. The plot occupied. Okay, I need to come to my client. Nope, client.ts. Should I set up? I should really. Index.ts. So bear with me just a second. Probably get some. No, not yet. So just copying this from another file. So we've got plot trait. I'm not worried about player profile because that's never actually going to be applied in the world. And then on my client.ts, I can call in here. This is when it'll probably start to scream at me. Unless, let's try. So if I come to the wrench, yeah, it's not finding the trait yet. So just make sure that's all saved. And what I'm going to do, save this. There used to be a save and reload button, didn't there? That's saved. I should just be able to hit F5. Hopefully those files are in their right places. Cool. So now, if I come to the wrench, here we go. So plot index is 1, and then where's the other one over there? Plot index is 2. So we've got this set up. I wonder if we need to build these up. We could do it. I'm just thinking about how we place stuff. So we could work as an offset from this place. So we could say, you know, the first dropper is always going to be, if I go to here, so if we say this is the very bottom left of where the plot starts, we might want to go in that direction 4 and a couple across for our first. Yeah, it's probably the way we're going to have to do this. We're going to have to build it as an offset. So probably want a helper file for that, which I could just put in here. So offsets. So dropper 1 would be something like x3 y plus 1, no, x plus 3 y plus 1 z minus 2. Something like that. And then we'll have to create a big definition of where these actually live. Let's have a think. I think that should work quite nicely. But also what we need to do, so we're in the player profile server, find and assign a plot to the player. Player join, player ID. We're going to need to, shouldn't matter. Import what do we call it? Plot trait from traits plotting plot trait. So plots equals j dot get all with traits. What doesn't it like about that? Get all with traits. Let's just check the documentation really quickly. Oh yeah, of course, because it's expecting an array. Okay, there we go. So, find the first plot that isn't occupied. Oh, we probably want actually player ID. We can save it here. j.schema.number. We can record the player ID. We may want to record other stuff into that. but for now that'll do. Probably want to add as well what plot we're on. So we can add that here. Plot ID number temporary, do not save. Plot ID j schema dot number. Again, we don't need to put anything fancy there. It's literally just going to be a reference to our plot ID. Plot ID is going to be undefined. Cannot be. You just say 0. Just make it happy. And then we don't need to touch it, I don't think, anywhere else. Hopefully that didn't break anything. Just remove the tray, save, add the tray back. There we go. So player ID 0, right. What am I looking for? Server.ts. So we're probably going to max this out to about 6 players. So we can dot them out. It doesn't have to be. Yes, very much. Doesn't have to be ordered. So just copy this. You can save a lot of time just by copying stuff that you know works. So I only need the ID. Oh no. Plot trait of all plots. So I could just do console.log plot index is plot trait dot plot index, and console.log is occupied plot trait dot occupied. So we can just verify that that's working. So it grabbed both of them and they're both false. So I can then say if plot trait occupied assign this plot and stop. So what do we want to do? We want to say plot trait dot occupied equals true. Plot trait dot player ID equals player ID. We also need get profile. Man, probably no. We don't need to save the player. We just need to get the profile. Set profile. That's what we need. So, const profile player profile. I can't even type. Hey lines equals get profile player ID player profile dot plot ID equals plot trait dot. Oh, now do I want to do the index or the actual ID of the entity? Yeah, I'm going to do the ID. So obviously every entity within Jamango has an ID. So I'm going to record this on the player as the entity ID. So it's a direct reference to this. If I did the actual index that I defined here, then I'd have to do another reverse lookup. Whereas if I got the entity ID for this box area, I know exactly where I am straight away. So we then also need to j.setTrait ID plot trait. Oh yeah. This is where it could. Let's just call plot trait new. Otherwise, it's going to get confusing. Plot trait new. So we just update the trait of that specific plot. And then we also need to set player. No, what was it? Set profile. Set profile should be player ID, player profile. And that's just doing the same on the player. And then also we need to get out of this. So easiest way should just be to return. Let's see what happens. So you see, it's only showed us one plot this time, whereas before it looped through both. Told us it's occupied, but we could just add some console logs here. Setting player plot. And we'll do plot trait new dot plot index, just so we know what's going on. Just for sense checking, is occupied now. Plot trait new dot occupied. Yep, so here we go. Setting it to a plot index of 1, and it's now occupied. So we've now got this base part to set up. And if I just set this and pretend it's occupied, you see it jumps to 2. So each player is now going to have a plot in the world. And I think the best thing to do would be to define. Can't even speak English, let alone code at the moment. Some offsets. We may be able to do this programmatically. Let's just think what we need to set up. So need to set up floor 1, 6 dropper locations, 6 buy buttons, buy upgrade buttons, 1 new floor button. Oh yeah, conveyor belt, and like cell box or something. So what we also need to do at this point, and we can pull this into a function at some point, so we can pull it out of server just so it's a bit cleaner. Once we have the player profile, build the plot. Because if the player's coming back and they're already sort of on floor 10, then we'll need to build that in. So once we've set it, yeah, we can do it here. So to do implement with codex. I forgot I had codex on this. Hello, Rangerford. No, I don't want to actually click that. Right, yeah, so we need to set up this. So we'll need some sort of, what should we call it? Build plot. Should we just take a player profile? Or should we just grab the player profile? I think if we just do player ID for now. Build plot. So if we yeah, so what was I thinking? Plot, drop a 1. We'll go. And we probably want a function. So we need to initially set up, rebuild the plot, update the plot when we buy a new dropper or floor. We also need to set up the floors. So I'm thinking, what could I do? I could use a blueprint for the floors probably. So if I come to here, we're probably going to want to add walls at some point, but we can come back to that. And can I spawn blueprints? Why am I spawn blue? Spawn box area. Spawn prop. Can I do anything with blueprints? So I'm gonna have to spawn it as a prop. That should be fine. So create prop. And this is where it'd be really nice to have some folders in here. I think there is. No. So name this floor 1. Scale is 1 to 1. It's going to be static. Save that. And then D equals that. Plot ID. Always want a floor 1. So plot position is gonna be j.get entity position plot ID. make sure we tell it that these are numbers. And then const floor 1 equals j.spawn prop floor 1 prop ID. And then we're going to say j.set position, set entity position, floor 1, plus. If no, so I'm going to say if pos equals undefined return. I should get rid of that. Yeah. I didn't actually explain what was going on there. So entity position always requires a vec3. At the moment, I'm setting this, but there's a possibility that this fails and it returns undefined. So it's saying this can be a vec3 or undefined, where it has to be a vec3. So I can put in a check here and say, well, if this has returned undefined, then just stop because something's broke. And we can pull that out later and put some error in, but for now, it should work. So back in server, we can also build the plot out. So we can call build plot, player ID, and ID. Hopefully this works. There we go. So we know that that's there. So it's probably grabbing the center actually. But that's fine. Because let's just delete these. Because whatever offset, will that be fine? If I just if I come back here and just say, what do I want to import? I want to import some stuff. Import droppers from so I'm in traits and this is, so I need to go back one. I'm in this folder. I need to go back to the root and then into the shared. So that's why I got the 2 dots. Shared droppers.ts. He says droppers. Oh yeah, that's fine. Oh yeah, I don't need to add the .ts. So const test dropper equals droppers. I'll just grab the first one. Test dropper prop equals test dropper dot prop. That one. And then spawned prop equals test dropper prop. What am I doing? I'm doing this a really long way. J.spawn prop test dropper prop. There we go. And then same thing, set entity position spawned prop plot boss. Let's just see where that puts it. Now, I need to update some of these. We've got dynamic on, so they can all be static. Okay, it is going there. So it's obviously setting. Yes, it is. It's just using the bun server. Even though I got some errors here. Interesting. But it's obviously still working. So yeah, it's just connected that way. So probably actually rotation is wrong as well. I've turned off the. X, no. Y. Hang on. Why is that not? Oh yeah, it's .0, isn't it? .0, .1 plus 3 or something, and then plus. It's not .1, 0, and 2. That should pull it in yet. No, it's not doing anything. There we go. And then I just need to rotate it 90 degrees. Are they all doing that? Let's just run through them a second. Yeah, they're all in the same orientation. So j.set entity. Where's the rotation? Companion. I have to do some math now. Face. Isn't there a look at? J.look at entity look at. I could cheat and do this way. Spawned prop. Let's just chuck some values in here a second. Interesting. Oh wait. Z. It would be Z. Yeah, -5. That might work. +10. +1. Wait for it to catch up. No, that must be 1. Trying to think what I'm doing here. Specifying. Where is 0, 0? So I want it to look actually here. So it is X, isn't it? Yeah. Hang on, if I put these 0, 0, 0, Then we should go back in the sky. Yeah. 3, 10. Yeah, this is a complicated way of doing it. Actually, instead of messing around with this, why am I messing around with that? Blueprint. Which one is it spawning? The stone one. Should have named these. 4044. Does this do anything? Does anyone know how that actually works? Yeah, the stone dropper is that one. Doesn't seem to do anything. See, the other thing we could do. What am I doing? Where's my toolbar gone? It's because I'm live. Just drop you in there. That's why. So if I place it there, I think if I just assume that my plots are in a line and I remake this blueprint a second. So I think it depends on where you first. Does it? I'm questioning myself now. So if I make prop out of that, prop, and then if I update my dropper stone to say it's that one, I think this is going to be the easiest way to do it. There we go. So I just need to make sure I always define my props facing this way. So yeah, that's kind of what we could do. If I just copy this, spawn prop 2, X, you know, for each next dropper, we could just here. Wait, does that mean the rotation worked on the original one? I'm so confused. What's going on now? What pulse? Oh. Hang on, I'm really confused what's going on now. So it's not X. What is going on there? Let's just go back to 1 a second. That's where I expect it. And then when I add the second one, okay, yeah, that's what I want. Obviously, it needs to be more than 3. This would have to be, I don't know, maybe 10 or something. 10's too far. 5. Yeah, and then we got a 2 block gap. So, plot trait. X, Y, Z, Z plus 5 per dropper. Because if we did a third one, let's do that again. Why is it doing that? Oh yeah, that'll be right. And then we end up with this really nice spacing because these are always going to be 3. We've got a 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Next one. 5. Next one. But yeah, that's how we can start to build out our droppers. And obviously what we'd want to do is, instead of just spawning random ones here, we've got the player ID. Sorry, I just hit the mic. We'd want to import from our player profile. The same as in server. So I can just grab this. Don't need the init, but this get and set profile at some point. That's what we want to do. We always want to spawn the first floor, but const player profile equals get profile player ID. And then what we've got in here, player profile, place droppers. Let's just console log that. Second console.log. Oh, I think that is just a number, isn't it? No, it isn't. It's let's just have a look. Place droppers. Which gives us a dropper ID. So we'll need to create. Oh no, we've already done it, haven't we? Just need to do a lookup, drop by ID. So that is referencing that. Yeah. So I go back to plot. What am I doing? So I need to work out a way, because this is just. Yes, a string. So we'll need to add a function to break down what we're saving here. Yep. So that pretty much wraps up this episode. But we've built a nice bit of logic there. So all we need to do next time, I say all, break this apart, look up that dropper ID, get the prop asset, and then start rebuilding stuff. Yeah, because we're saving the level and stuff, so all the information is there to actually populate it. We just need to build a function for releasing that information. But that was it for episode 2. I hope the quality is better. I did do a few little tests and it looked better. But I'll see you guys next week.